Hi, my name is Andrew Smith, and today I'll be talking about critical thinking and problem solving. I'm a marketing major, and this is something that as business majors we learn a lot about because in business there's lots of things that we need to critically think about and lots of problems, good and bad, that come up that we need to evaluate, find the best solution, and move forward from that. So, starting out, we have creative versus critical thinking. So what's the difference between these two? I think these are kind of opposites as far as thinking goes. Creative thinking, generation of new ideas, developing new properties or possibilities, disregards observed limitations or rules. I think typically when we think of creative thinking, we think outside the box. We think unorthodox, people who see the world differently and see problems in a completely different light than typically. I think this is the exploration of, new problems, or in kind of figuring out, okay, what are the solutions to this, or looking back at old ways of doing things and the traditional ways and saying, hold on, wait a minute, I have a more efficient and effective way of handling this. So I think that's creative thinking, and then we go on to critical thinking, and both are equally important for sure. I think and critical thinking is the active, persistent, careful consideration of a belief. It's evidence based. It's analyzing the thinking of yourself and others. This is very down to a T, methodical. Typically, we think of critical thinkers as logical, or people who analyze lots of things. And so these are kind of the two basic groups of thinking, but it's important to note that they're both important. If you were just a critical thinker, you definitely wouldn't be creative and wouldn't have the flashes of, oh, what if we did it this way? But if you were strictly creative, you wouldn't be able to get anything done. You would just be kind of in la la land without any structure. So typical reactions and responses to problems that come up. A lot of people tend to ignore the problem. Some try to get other people to solve them for them by saying, oh, throwing your hands up, saying, oh, I can't do this, I'm helpless. If you're like me, I procrastinate. I do a lot of procrastination, and that I can tell you for sure is a bad response to problems. It delays your decision making, and it just causes you to get stressed out closer to the deadline. Blaming others is a huge typical reaction. You can get angry, you can do foolish things, you can say, hold on a minute, this problem's come up into my life, and now the only way I know how to handle it is by getting angry at the problem or the people that surrounded it, or etc. And so I don't think that's a good reaction either. Some people make jokes and let humor control their response, and some people just let other people decide. They just sit back, they're apathetic, and they don't really do anything about it. And I think that there's a clear and calculated way of handling problems. That's thinking about the problem, then you consider information and choices, then you talk to others involved, or if there's not others involved, bring someone in that's wiser, that knows what's going on, that you can sit down with them and say, okay, here's what's going on. Like, what would you do, or if, what do you think about this? And then solve the problem, make a decision, and stick with it. So, what's the difference between decision making and problem solving? Well, there is a difference, but they go hand in hand. So the definition of a problem is when there's a gap between what you expect to happen and what actually happens. And I think in business this happens a lot when a customer expects something and the business doesn't come through, or when a business expects something from a customer or another business and they don't come through. Definition of decision making: select a course of action from among available alternatives. And this is just saying, okay, so we'll go on to the next one here. What's the difference between decision making and problem solving? Well, problem solving is defining the problem, creating the solution. Decision making, selecting a course of action from among the available alternatives. So problem solving is saying, all right, we got the problem. What is it? Let's figure out what some solutions we have. And then decision making is saying, all right, what's the best solution we have, and let's go with it. So finally, the problem solving steps we put into an acronym, and it's called the DECIDE acronym. Define the problem is D. We need to identify the problem and define it. E, examine alternatives. We need to figure out, okay, what possibilities do we have here? C, consider how choices relate to goals. I, identify acceptable choices. What choices do we have that will really be acceptable and could push our organization or just personally kind of further and make us successful here? D, decide on one choice And E, evaluate results. So you want to decide, you want to go 100% in on that one choice, and then over the course of the future, you want to evaluate your results. You want to be assessing always, and then you want to, eventually what happens is that the problem or the solution that you had to your problem worked perfectly, and now you need to have new solutions to that problem because it's outdated sometimes. So that's kind of the how we solve problems in business basically, and I think it works in life too. It works in any application that you'd like it to. And I will note that it's important to have critical thinking and creative thinking in an organization or just in yourself. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great day.